Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Singles Podcast. Today is Saturday, February the 1st. It's the first of the month, y'all. So welcome back to a new month. It's just two of us today, which is fine. Normally it's a trio, but today it's just me and my handsome co-host, Akan the King. And we are about to dive into another wonderful topic. And the topic that we're going to discuss today is hall pass in a relationship or a marriage. And for those of you, our audience, that may not know what that is, it's basically when couples give each other a freebie in order to go out and participate or engage in any sexual activity with the opposite sex, or the same sex, because, let's just keep it up buck here. We do know that there are different types of relationships right now within our culture and our society and our world. So, yeah, so it's basically when those couples decide to give each other a freebie or a free pass to have engage in any sexual activity that they want for a period of time, or sometimes it may be just a one-time thing. It depends on the nature of the relationship and where the couple are in the relationship. So that's what we're going to dive in today and see how does that really work in our community and in our society currently. And is that a good approach to having healthy relationships? So I'm interested to hear your take on it, Akan, and then I guess to see what, later on, what comments in our community has for us.
Yeah. Well, hello community. Yes, definitely. This is a topic that has been coming up, or we know is happening. Hall pass. It's something that is, like I said, it's happening whether we like it or not, and it's definitely something that's concerning because you look at what relationships used to be back in the day. We had more monogamous relationships, and research has shown that the younger generation is more open to discussing things like a hall pass, which really brings us to this issue of ethical non-monogamy, because that's pretty much what it is. When you consensually like take permission and go outside of the relationship or and with the partner's knowledge. And I think it's becoming a almost a lifestyle for a lot of people. And I think though it's something that some people, based on research, some people say they've enjoyed, but there are a lot of dangers to it. I personally have I don't support it, but we're out here talking about it today because this is what's happening in our society, and like always, we're out here to discuss these things and really get to the root to find out why. And
Thank you.
that's a short perspective on ethical non-monogamy. And as we go on, I will be able to talk about the other dynamics around it.
Okay. Well, that's interesting that you say that you don't support it. It's not a lifestyle either. I'm just going to be frank and honest, because here in the Singles Connect community, we always strive to, although we try to be respectful of other people's lifestyle, opinions, thoughts, perspective, and how they choose to govern their lives. So we also try to be authentic to ourselves based on our personal, lifestyle and beliefs. And it's not something that I subscribe to. It's not something that I would co-sign, but to each his own. And everyone has a right to go their own way or direction with it. Because I think it comes with a lot of implications. I think, for example, I think once you open the door in a relationship for certain behaviors, then you open the door for everything. And I think once that door is open, it's hard to close it,
Yeah.
is what I personally think. So when you allow your spouse or your significant other a hall pass, which is to go out and engage in sexual activity with someone else, um, even if it's consensual that you're aware, of it. I don't necessarily, and I know that some people put boundaries around it, because I've heard the discussions many times where they're like, I don't want to know the details, and I don't want to know who or where or when. Like, those are some of the boundaries they put around it. But I personally know that that would haunt me. Really, it would haunt me just knowing the thought of it. And as I said, I just think that once you open the door to certain things in the relationship, then you're opening the door to a lot of other things. What if now your spouse say, okay, now I want to have our threesomes. Now I want to have for us to start going to sex parties. Now I want to um you name it. I can think of like a plethora of things, but I'm just saying like I just think it's open up the door to too many other things that you're bringing into the relationship once you start allowing certain behaviors.
Yeah, you're right, Stacy. And I know you mentioned, the parties, the threesomes. Well,
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, but that's actually happening. It's happening where husbands and wives are doing it. They're going to swing clubs. They're even on on the apps we have now. They both go on the apps and they say, "Listen, this is what we're doing. We're looking for an extra partner." So I think it's actually been more, and I won't call it advanced because I think it always was, but I think it's just on the scale of which it is right now is really
Mm-hmm.
high, where it's moved from, oh, I'm giving you consensual, um, like giving you permission to go do this, to, oh, you don't only have to do it, we can do it together, or we can do it and actually keep a record of it, of what's going on. And like I said, you mentioned some of the things in the relationship, some of the things that something like a hall pass or bringing
Mm-hmm.
people into the bedroom can cause is, even though people sometimes give that permission, or that consensual relationship is allowed to happen, it still causes mistrust. It causes
Mm-hmm.
jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
It still causes a fear of abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes it's unspoken, but it's there because the evidence has shown that it can really break a relationship. Not to even talk of what the external force or the person who you bring in can cause, which you
Mm-hmm.
might not actually have control of,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but, for me, it's just, as much as this is there and we know what it's going to cause, I'm someone who always asks, what would cause, people to want to explore this, and another question that I had is, who is more likely to suggest,
Oh my God. Okay.
oh,
And what is your take?
because, well, well, my take is, as much as I like to know what's going on, but me, I also
Yes.
like to do my research. So let's look at
Yes.
let's look at the numbers. So
Okay.
it's found that men are more likely open to non-monogamous relationships, and
Okay.
this is because they're more prone to the avoidant attachment lifestyle, the avoidant attachment style. And just
Okay.
to give our viewers a little more on what avoidant attachment style is. So an
Mm-hmm.
avoidant attachment style relationship is when a person tends to avoid emotional intimacy and
Mm-hmm.
closeness, and it often stems from fear of rejection, leading them to prioritize independence and distance in their interactions with others. And it's been found that men are more prone to this. Sometimes people say it can be caused by childhood experiences. It could also be caused by seeing other abuse. I know there was a time when I was growing up where I saw people, it's like, oh, I saw a cousin of mine got heartbroken by his partner, and I was just like, yo, like, no one's ever gonna break my heart. I mean, I was much more younger, right? But I'm just saying,
Yes.
that's sort of like how it happens. People can be like, wow, this person has done this, or this a woman can be like,
Okay.
oh, men do this. I'm not gonna allow that to happen. So,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna also let you maybe chime in on that, just based on why, and then why, and then the people who are more likely to do it. And then when you're done, I'll be able to see if I can give you some more numbers on what I have.
Okay. Well, my thought so far is I'm actually not surprised by the data. And I actually kind of knew that it would have been saying that the men are the one that are probably more prone to bringing up such a thing or
Yeah.
want to explore that. And I am fully aware about the attachment styles too. But uh, honestly, Khan, even though I know that as human beings, we don't just do things randomly. Everything has a cause and effect, or it comes from something. It has an underlying pathology,
Yeah.
which mean in essence, which means there is a history or root or cause of why things are. But I think at some point, as adults, we have to come to a place where we start taking personal responsibility for our lives, regardless of the underlying issues or the things that cause us to do the things that we choose to do and want to do. And decide as if, does this serve me? Does this make sense? Is this something that I really want to participate in? And how is this going to affect my relationship long term with my spouse? Um, you brought up some great points. That emotional abandonment and rejection that comes with, I think, participating in something like that, because you're the other party in the relationship is feeling abandoned, they're feeling rejected. And I will dare to say that I think that maybe some women or even men, depending on whose idea it is, just go along with some of these things just to go along, just to be or to keep the person. Because I don't think most of us, I think a lot of us are very territorial by nature. I don't think any of us really and truly want to share our spouse with anyone else. I, even if you have the sexual desires or the sexual urges, or you feel like you want to spice up the relationship, because that's what some of them say, they want to try something new, which, there's many different ways that they give you that you can even do that. They even talk about why it's important for you to get out sometimes out of your own home on vacation or even a staycation, like even being a different environment, a different bed. Even that is an excitement in itself. Even that is thrilling. I mean, there's data on this. So to me, there's other ways that people can use and find in order to bring spice and excitement to the relationship that doesn't necessarily have to involve bringing someone else into the relationship. But, again, that's just my perspective. And I know everyone has their own individual perspective and life to live, and they have a right to do that because we do live in a free world. But I'm just saying, I think sometimes the ramification and the residue of things that sometimes we don't think about the implication on the long run. And if you may agree to this something right now in this current relationship or marriage that you're in, and later on you have regrets over it. Okay. And I will tell you, I actually know of a personal situation where a unwanted pregnancy derived from a couple engaging in that. So there are risks too to these type of things. Wow. That an unwanted pregnancy arrived from that type of situation. And the only reason the husband was very 100% sure that he knew it wasn't his is because he had a vasectomy. So he knew that this couldn't be his child. And yes, we can argue, why would you have been so irresponsible to have unprotected sex with somebody outside of your marriage? It happens every single day. People decide to do things, the excitement and the rush and the thrill take over, and all common sense sometimes goes out the window.
Yeah, so that's good. It's good you brought up that point, Stacy, about the paternity of the child. And but which is, it's crazy. But it just made me think, could it also be that maybe people try to engage in, because in as much as, it's not, I don't subscribe to it and everything, but we also want to look at what's going on, that people sort of like bring this method in because of this whole avoidance of like having someone cheat on the other person, especially knowing who they are, or even knowing who the other person is, and they now say this because apart from this non-consensual relationship this consensual relationship you're talking about, there's a huge problem happening now with paternity in the world, where they're finding out that women are not the it's big now.
No, I'm laughing because my friend just brought this up to me already. If you guys don't know our singles community, I'm Caribbean, I'm Jamaican, and we are a tiny island of, I think, 2 million people. And he was just telling me that Jamaica, the island that is on the world map, it have the highest, we call it jacket back home, which means the children don't necessarily belongs to the father. So for English clarification, for the people who don't speak our local tongue, which is called patois, jacket means that the kids don't belong to the husband or the father, whatever the situation is. So he just educated me on this, Akan. He said, and I didn't confirm it. So this is hearsay. I haven't confirmed it because I like to confirm things. So don't take it as facts. But he said that Jamaica in the world has the most kids that are jackets.
Wow.
Meaning that the father that they're given is not actually their biological father.
Yeah. But we're seeing that same problem, that same challenge even in Nigeria, because I'm Nigerian, and even here in the US as well. With the same thing. It's like now there's this idea paternity test, paternity test. So I'm just saying, not to divert from the topic, but could it be other things? Because it means people are still stepping out, right?
Yes.
And so does this still boil down to knowing who you are as a person, or being disciplined as a person, making sure that you're committed to, the person that you're with, or before you're committed to the person that you're with, being committed to yourself, first of all, because I think that's where it starts, right? And then knowing the person that you're being partnered with. Because let me read some other numbers again to you. Like it says that according to surveys, around 12% of Americans have engaged in some form of non-monogamy. Meaning like they've participated in that, in consensually and, non-exclusive relationships. And this is according to the 2023 YouGov poll. And 34% of Americans describe their ideal relationship as something other than completely monogamous. And according to 2024 Match singles in America, 31% of singles in America have explored consensual non-monogamy in their relationships, but 49% still choose the ideal monogamous relationship, which is good news for us. At least we know a lot of people are still going the traditional way, but that is a big number. And my point for me to say is this means that there is active participation from both sides, right? And is this something that has just come to stay, or is there a reason for this? Because I was also looking at the how things like this avoidant attachment styles, how they manifest in relationships, and there's ghosting, which we know about, and then there's dismissive behavior, and then there's also difficulty of expression. But I think the one that stood out to me was putting work and hobbies as a priority over relationships. And I think that's becoming very common in our society, where people are very career driven, and and then it's like over the relationships. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think that is very true, that we are now in a culture and a society where career and hobbies play a more vital role in our lives. But I think it's also because we are conditioned that way. I don't think it's naturally our makeup. I think we're all in a survival mode type of mindset. And I think because we attach so much of our work to what it is that we do and how much we have to achieve in order for us to feel worthy and for us to feel that we're enough and for us to feel that we're accepted. And I think that has been something that was also forced upon us, not just from our history from slavery, but in society in general. Because how do we prove our worth? How do we think that we are enough? Like, for some people, sometimes we have to redefine success too, so that people can also figure out what happiness really looks like and what does that really means. And you now have a lot of people, I think especially during the pandemic, those were some of the hard questions people were faced with, because people now were having an opportunity to stand still for the first time, a lot of them in their lives, and now look at their lives and look at what truly mattered and what was important, because people were dying from left to right. People were unable to go out to movie theaters, concerts, football games, basketball games, engage in any type of, group activity. So now people had to look within themselves more and do more self-reflection, and now starting to ask those hard questions of does happiness look like? What is success really looks like? What are the things that's going to make me happy, and what is important? Because throughout our society and our life, we have placed so much emphasis on what we do, what we drive, what we wear, where we live, how many degrees we have behind our names, money, status, fame, all of those type of things. And a lot of the times, as I said, those things too are also forced upon us because of society and our culture and the things that we are still carrying, to me, from the trauma of what we're still carrying from slavery, of us constantly having to prove our worth, even if it kills us.
Yeah, you're right, and I think these things come from ultimately it's your self esteem that is affected, right?
Yes,
Because if
yes.
your full self esteem is there, you don't need to prove your worth to anyone. But I
Mm-hmm.
think unconsciously a lot of people are going through that, suffering through that, and there's definitely the pressure of society from, say, even 80 years ago to a century ago is very different now in terms of the workforce and just basically everything. But yeah, those points you mentioned are true. And so I guess now it's just I think my thing I wonder about is, do people come into this kind of arrangement? Because I know now people are more vocal about it. Like before you get into a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, they let you know. But I'm curious, which, because I don't have the data on that, as to whether this type of thing comes up later on in. So now talking about marriages, later on in the marriage, just because of, sometimes when the marriage lasts very long and stuff, because of different reasons, maybe because of getting tired of each other or something, does it come up later, or is it something that, it's just something that just happens, or maybe somebody is just silent about who they are and then sort of like reveals
Mm-hmm.
it, but they know that you're locked in, you know? What do you think?
Um, you remember one of our earlier topics last month that we were discussing? Well, we were, was it, because we try to make sure that all the topics kind of blends together, where it's
Yeah.
like a seamless flow of follow-up conversation, so it makes sense for our audience. But I think in one of the earlier conversation we had last month, we brought up boundaries. Oh, we were talking about sexual compatibility. That was it.
Uh,
So, okay, guys. So for those of you who have not watched that episode, I would encourage you to go back and watch that episode, and you will actually see that what we're trying to create here is symmetry and a clear pattern of topic and conversation where it all makes sense and blend together. So we're not all over the place. So when we were discussing sexual compatibility, and Dr. OJ was trying to figure out how does one have that conversation dating as a single person. And I gave an example of how I would start that conversation. Now, to me, this is now you're kind of seeing why they connect, because if you have that conversation with the individual person that you're potentially thinking about going in a relationship with, or you've already decided that you guys are going to become exclusive in this relationship,
yeah.
then you will know. And hopefully that person is very honest and transparent. And that you would have expressed while you guys are having that conversation that I need you to be genuinely and honest with me. No judgments here about what your desires are, what your needs are, or even fantasies that you may have. Because then you would know if you guys are compatible. If this is this a deal breaker for you? Do you have the capacity to fulfill this desire, whether it's now or later? If this person say, "Hey, I am into freebies in a relationship. Hey, I'm into go into sexual parties. I'm into us bringing in maybe somebody once in a while in the relationship." For sexual reasons, threesomes, or yeah, I think that's the cultural word for it, threesomes or whatever it is. Is that something that is a deal breaker for you? Are you open to that? Are you okay with that? So that way it won't be so much of a surprise to you when your husband, say maybe 5 years into the marriage or whatever it is, or the relationship, I think we need to spice things up. I think we need to do this or we need to do that. It won't be such a big surprise to you because you knew this going in. And as I said, I am going to put up the ear quote that hopefully you guys had this honest, transparent conversation and the person was true to themselves, was that self aware enough to know that these are even thoughts that I'm entertaining, even if I've never engaged in it. I have thought about it. It interests me. It in the back of my head, I'm like, this seems exciting. Maybe I may want to try this because people grow to and evolve. What's something you probably don't think you would do today, you will end up doing tomorrow. And that happens too. But to me, sometimes I think the things you end up doing are the things that you have thought about at some point in your life. It's not just this random thing that fell out of the sky and you decide, oh, I'm going to do this. And some people may say that I am wrong or I'm off, but that's just my thought process. I don't think we just randomly decide to do anything. It's something you have thought about at some point along the way. It's been in the back of your mind. It's something you have fantasized about. It's something you may have even looked up, but you just never acted upon it, or you've never had the opportunity to do it.
Or you may just have been hiding it and not bringing it out till when you thought it was the right time because you wanted to get this person,
Right. Right. Or when you don't, or you want to, because sometimes we present the representative or the person we think people want us to be versus trying to be honest with who we really are. So those things happen too. But I'm saying in the scenario that I just gave, I'm talking about real, honest, transparent conversation, no judgment, nothing off the table. I need to know who you are or even who you think you want to be later on. Is this a fantasy, a thought, an interest? Are you any curiosities? I need to know. And as I said, I really think that's the reason why as singles, we still need to have these conversations just so you can know what you're buying into. Like nobody wants to, just like how, example, Akan, and women do these things too, because women are, I find, do their research, not just on the price, but buying a car now, people put in weeks of research online. And then some people even have them custom and ordered. And it takes even 6 months to make. I know a couple
research on like on what?
On the car dealer, like say a Mercedes Benz,
Oh,
you
right,
can
right, right,
actually
right.
go and custom make your car. And sometimes it takes even 6 months for them to, depend on the type of customization that you want, for the car to actually be shipped from overseas to the dealership here in the States. So I'm saying if you can do that much intense research for a car and customize it to have what you want, why are we afraid to dive into these deep uncomfortable conversation to make sure that at least 70-85% of the way, you know the thoughts and the desire and the dreams and the wants and the curiosity of the person you want to do life with.
And you're right, but I'll take that a step further, Stacy, because I think that in the ideal world that we are, people are not truthful. No, it's true. Because what you're talking about now is an honest. Honesty is not. Let me change to my ejatong. People are not honest. It's the same reason why we're having these issues with paternity. It's the same reason why people are getting relationships and finding out based on people who have the ability to have kids. It's the same reasons people are getting relationships to find out. So just taking it a step further, in the ideal world, people are really not honest. Honestly, I think if people were honest with the way it is, maybe we might have been landing in a different place. Whether it's about, and I know we also mentioned, I mean, you can't go around asking people for their body count or whatever, but I think it's important to, and maybe we should actually have this topic, maybe dating right.
That's a good topic. That's a good topic. Yes, I would be very interested into diving into that conversation.
So dating right, which literally focuses on how to date a person, because I think a lot of things can, the word of mouth can be manipulated. But I think actions can also be manipulated as well. But I think it's easier, or you have a better chance of knowing people from their actions, and being able to observe people and see the way they move. Because the thing with habits is that they will leave clues, like with who you are. So while you're dating, that vetting process to really know who this person is, if it actually runs to what they say they are and what they want. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I still feel like with this hall pass and all of this stuff, I feel like sometimes there's that little number where they talk about it, oh, we're going to the marriage license, but I think a lot of people go into marriages agreeing that it's going to be a monogamous marriage for life, and then when they go ahead, somebody switches up and be like, oh no, but let's do this. I'm feeling this way. I want, and so just to avoid that, and then also to like, which is what I always say, like, I think even if someone does not suggest something like that, knowing what the person's beliefs and philosophies are based on life, and I'm talking about like comments from like random conversations, maybe seeing a non-monogamous relationship or an ethical non-monogamous relationship, and the comments, how they take those comments in and what they think about it can give you some sort of idea of the way someone thinks. And, because, as much as we are here on Singles Connect to talk, we're also trying to see how we can make things better and, make people date better. And so I think dating right is something we definitely should talk about, and, things to look out for, and just how to date in general. So I just wanted to add that to what you had said.
No, you're absolutely right, Akan, because I think it's also good, although we're giving our thoughts and our opinions and our perspective on these different topics and things that we see are happening in our culture, and some of the things that singles are having to maneuver and figuring out how to navigate in the dating process. I think us also maybe looking at some healthy tips and some healthy way of how to date is probably would also be beneficial to our Singles Connect community too. And I always, preface and always emphasize to you guys that we are learning too. So we're not saying there's a right or wrong way to doing things. We're just saying that boundaries, standards, value, self-awareness, honesty, and transparency, I think those to me should be some of the deal breakers that people should definitely have in their thoughts. They're part of their core values when it comes to dating. I just don't see it being successful without those things or some of those things. I can't see it. Because I know you have heard the saying that says, if you accept anything, then you fall for, if you have no standards, basically you fall for anything. Yeah. I think I may have messed it up a little, but I think you probably know which quote I'm trying to quote. Yeah. But I believe that too. If you don't, I remember it now. The quote is, if you don't stand for something,
you fall for anything.
Anything. Right. And I believe that is 100% true. That none of our lives is seamless, is perfect, is without fault. But I just think, and I always have this approach, that everything can't be a muck. Everything can lack discipline. Let's say I don't have discipline in the amount of TV I decide to watch, but I have discipline in my work ethic. I have discipline in the way I keep my home. I have discipline in the way I take care of my health and my body and all of that. But to say you don't have health you don't have discipline in your finance, you don't have discipline in how you eat, your living space, the way you carry yourself, your work ethic, you're late every day, you're late for everything. I mean, I'm just saying something has to give. It can't be a mess all across the board. So I'm just saying that I think we need to start applying more boundaries, more discipline, becoming more self-aware, having some values and some standards when it comes to our lives. And it's not just dating, but apply it to all aspects of our lives. And I think you will see better outcome and have better results in some of the areas that we're having difficulties. But that's a great idea, Con, is to give them some tools on, maybe research, success rates of things that we see that can become the norm. I think if our society starts to make positive and you know, certain things, try to make certain things, normalize certain behaviors, then it won't be so foreign or strange for people to even try to think that I want to emulate that, or I want to, and apply that to my life because it's normalized. And isn't that the reason why some of the behaviors too seem so prevalent? Is
Yeah.
because it's being normalized in music, in pop culture,
Right.
social media, ads. Isn't that a part of the problem? Is because some of these behaviors is being normalized
Yeah.
across the culture in different ways on the society and the world.
Yeah, it is. And it's the conversation needs to change. I
Yeah.
think the conversation needs to go harder on the things that benefit us, because in society, longevity and life, because even though we're talking about this whole person, but we haven't even talked about the effects on what it would have if, say, your child were to find out that you participated in that. And what are you
Yeah.
with the next generation? We haven't talked about that, because these are things that happen. We haven't talked about that. We haven't talked about how that looks if other people outside on this find out that that's what you're doing, and how this impacts your own generation and your legacy. Not that everybody cares about legacy, but like I said, like some of the conversations, I think for time, conversations about money and stuff, people are very focused on teaching and like drive. Oh, you need to make money. You need to do this to work hard. But for some reason, when it comes to relationships, um, nobody really wants to hardline what you should do, except of course based on religion. Like, you're a Christian, do this, do this, do that. But we know that now the world is becoming so different, so diverse, evolving in different ways, social media and all that. And religion is something that is in a very fragile place, and it's different for different people. So just the culture itself, I think we need to have that conversation more and really drive, because it's actually important. There's something else I wanted to mention, but it's sort of escaping my mind. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much the point that I wanted to say about that. Just dating right, and honestly, just being honest with, and if you're gonna, because ultimately you talked about choice. I think ultimately with all these things that come up, you still have a choice to make. And the reason why
Yes, you absolutely
you
do.
see how people react to stuff. You know how cheating might look like. You know how it is to step out on a marriage. You know how it is. So if you do feel like that's the type of person that you are, I mean, we're not God. We're not trying to judge you or whatever. But I mean, let someone know that this is what you're about. Because I'm still very sure that a lot of people do come into this. Just like I told you, that a lot of times it's the other partner that will suggest it, and they kind of like roll with it, because either they're trying to protect the marriage or the relationship, or there's some sort of hold. And also too, it sort of like works with going with something because you also might also have a fear or something that holds you back, because I feel like every negative emotion comes from fear. And so it's just like, and then you start to rationalize and then maybe engage in such behaviors, and then now it's like a norm, and then the repercussions, consequences and all that follow. So I think for us here in Singles Connect, I would say, date right, if this is where you are, whatever, like, let people know, understand people have feelings, emotions, and and just be cautious. That would be what I have to add on that.
I agree with you 100% regarding that. Yeah, I think that the honesty, I think, is the biggest component to this. The honesty and the transparency in having conversation about who you are, what you have the capacity to hold and what you don't have the capacity not to hold. So, and having the being able to have the conversation without the judgment, so you can be honest with that person. I think we really need to get to a place or to start normalizing giving each individual an opportunity to make a fair and honest decision about who they're choosing to be with versus people being surprised. Because as I said, I personally don't think some of these desires or wants or needs or fantasy or things that just popped up out of the blue. I think it's something you have thought about. You may have seen something, you may have heard something, and you have thought about it, but you have never had an opportunity to try it. But there was a desire there. There was a liking to something. There was you know what I mean? I don't think it's just all random. So if you're honest about who you are and the stuff you want to do, let the other party know so they can decide that
Yeah, the one.
I can get on this train with you because that is something that I potentially think that, oh, that sounds interesting. I think I would want to try that out too.
Right.
Maybe not now, but later we can look at it or whatever it is, but to, try to pretend. So I think we can normalize the honesty and the transparency in people having these open conversation without the judgment, these difficult conversation, even if you're embarrassed to even ask the question. Ask the question. It's going to save you to me on the front end versus the back end. That's how I feel about it, Akan. I think we just need to start normalizing it.
Yeah.
That honesty is the best policy when it comes to certain things. And if somebody walk away from you, then somebody walks away from you. You will find the person that is ideal for you based on the things that desire, the things that you want, the things that you value, and the things that you care about in your life. I think there is someone for everybody. I honestly do believe that.
There is. And I think having the discipline too, which is the thing that I want to hit on the head, is have the discipline to allow people to be themselves. Don't hold anybody.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of this comes from the fear of, just not wanting to be abandoned or wanting to want that person for who. Like, have the discipline to let people find their happiness where they can find it. There's how many billion people in the world? Like, just be able to do that. Because honestly, if you look at most of the relationships that have gone bad, or it's usually from the person not being either honest or the person not keeping to what was agreed, So, we need to really focus on the starting, and we need to really focus on the intentions and making sure that we can do that. That's, for me, that's pretty much what it is. And and also that, as much as I'm not support certain things or whatever, like, people choose certain things for different reasons. People might do that. I'm not here to judge. I'm not judging jury or whatever. We're all human beings. So, if you feel like that's something you do, you might just find somebody who enjoys the same thing,
Yeah.
And just have
that's what I'm saying.
Let them know. Yeah.
Yes. And as I said before, guys, I know we're winding down now. Is I know people evolve and I know people change, and you would hope that the person you're in a relationship with changes and grow with you. But I also strongly believe that some of the things that we decided later on we want to do, and we all of a sudden pull a wool over a partner's eyes, is not that foreign to us. If we're truly, truly honest with ourselves and go back into your thought, go back into your past, somewhere along the line, that was there. That little thing was there before.
Yeah.
But it's just being, and I know that a lot of us tend to hide a lot of who we are because of rejection, the fear of rejection.
Yeah.
And a lot of us as human beings, we operate with that sense or with that thought. So we hide who we truly are. But the reality of it is, I think we end up hurting each other more than we care to know, because we're not honest, because we are holding on to our own fears, our own trauma, and just not wanting for anyone to reject us. But again, our community, I think there's someone for everyone. So just allow people to be exactly who they are. Create a space for people to be honest, for people to have these hard conversations with you about what they want before you guys commit to exclusivity. And if the person doesn't align with you, it's okay to walk away without letting that person feel shamed or belittle or not enough of who they are. They're just not the part of the person for you. And you guys can go your separate ways. If you guys can be friends, you can be friends without any judgment or anyone feeling like they're unworthy or not enough or rejected or abandoned or whatever the case may be. I think we just need to, adulting, I know, can be difficult, but I think we just all need to grow up and be adults. That's just,
and I just wanted to add one thing, Stacy. A lot of times too, some of these things, desires or whatever, I know there's people, those of us who choose to do the things we do, but there's some of them that have come from dysfunctionality back in our lives and past. and things that,
Yes, toxicity.
yeah,
Yes.
it might be from toxicity, it might be from trauma, from something that was done to us.
Yes.
When
Environment.
you
Yes.
realize that that's what's going on with you, please, it's okay to seek for help. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I want, because I know a lot of times people are focusing on, oh, you just want to do this because it might not be who you are. It might just be that you're struggling with something. Do seek for help first. Go through a therapist, through a friend, do your research, go get help when you're better, whatever it is, if it is an addiction, whatever it is, seek for help first. When you've worked on yourself and you feel like, I don't think anybody can ever be totally whole, but when you get to a place where you feel like you have control and you know these things, then you can go out and now find a partner who likes things
Mm-hmm.
like this, and also have the decency to share with them, that this is what's going on, this is where you are. I just wanted to put that in there because sometimes it's also from some form of something that has been suffered. So yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Akan, and thank you for also imparting that and putting that information out there because yeah, as I said earlier before, it comes from somewhere. Once you figure out what the pathology of things is, then you can look at it look at the whole picture and decide, is this really a part of who I am or was this inflicted upon me? And if you need help, then there's plenty of resources out there. There are people that their website that deals with whether it's sex addiction, whether it's abuse, sexual abuse, um, physical abuse, domestic violence, whatever it is that has caused the handicap that you have. Or, let's say for some people may look at it as a handicap, some people may not. But for however you choose to look at it, go out and seek help, guys, is what we would want to impart here. And again, let's try to see if we can change the narrative. We can start to change the conversation and try to encourage everyone to have the hard conversation and to do more self-reflecting and try to strive to get to know who you really are and what it is that makes you tick. It takes many ingredients to make the soup taste good. Whatever country you're from, whatever island you're from, whatever part of the world, however they make your soup, there's plenty of ingredients in it. I'm just saying, take a look at the ingredients and decide what you want, how you want it, and make sure you guys are communicating that so that way no one feels like I bought something that I had no idea what I was getting. That's all I have here on the the Singles Connect community. And once again, thank you guys for joining us in this conversation. And don't forget, guys, to follow us on Instagram, also subscribe on YouTube, and leave comments for us, guys, if you think what we're talking about is actually making an impact, if it's making sense, or if you guys have any suggestions for us. Because as I said, we are learning and
Yes.
we're growing too in our walk in the singleness, and we're just trying to share all the little knowledge that we have gained, and also trying to see if we can encourage everybody else to just see if we can have a healthy coexistence and not to feel like singleness either is a curse. There's you can have purpose while you're single
Yeah.
until that person comes along.
Yeah.
So leave us comments, guys, and yeah, that's it for me. Anything on your end, Akan, before we
Oh
get out of
no,
here?
Stacy, you said it all pretty much. I think being single is, I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a great opportunity for you to work on yourself, self-awareness, um,
Mm-hmm.
get that up and just literally to know more about life. So because when you can exist when you're single in a great way, you're able to even be a better partner. And I'm just glad we had this conversation today. It was great. Like always, we always have conversations of important things that are going on in our society, and we try to touch that to learn and to see how we can move forward. So yeah, definitely enjoy this conversation, and I look forward to the next episode of Singles Connect Community. Yeah. So I guess that's it for today. So I'll see you guys next time. See you later, Stacy.
See you later,
All
Akan.
right. Bye.